r/out of the loop. Retro Zelda says, what's the deal with this woman who apparently ruined games, and what did she actually do? I saw this post in another subreddit about how she ruined games 10 years ago. Who is she, and what did she do? I can't seem to find a good explanation in the comments of that post besides her name being Anita. Android Queen says, answer, that's Anita Sarkeesian. She did a series of YouTube videos analyzing sexism in video games. Many vocal gamers objected to this. Most developers saw them as somewhere between insightful and obvious. Shortly thereafter, Gamagood happened. Skix says, just to add details for accuracy, she started a Kickstarter to fund the production of the series, and that is what got an enormous amount of blowback. The vocal pushback also raised a lot more awareness to the Kickstarter as it happened, and many even saw the hostile response as a reason why sexism as games needs to be analyzed. In my opinion, the event did cause a large shift in the industry and the discussion of how women are depicted in games. To say that it ruined games is a teaspoon shallow analysis. In an industry that overworks its developers before laying them off, incorporates the same monetization tactics used by casinos for games aimed at children, releases half-baked products for full price, and is making it harder to actually own the games you buy, how does someone see the biggest thing ruining gaming as the women don't default to looking like pornsters anymore? Cream Morphtaz says, people with no knowledge of literary analysis so vehemently against the idea that their favorite game could have gasped sexist writing in them that they darks and sending death threats. Like they couldn't even critique the critique, no they had to attack the person. Gamagood should have led to the outlawing of video games, we don't deserve them /s. r/out of the loop. Vladimir Sadami says, what's up with the immigration bill? What's actually in the bill, and why does the GOP oppose it? I'm sure a lot of it is typical Republican buffoonery, but I also want to know any legitimate reason they might have, or claim to have. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly of this bill. Statix1 now says, answer, the bill was largely pushed and supported by the right, and was eventually negotiated with the left, until it was considered a bipartisan success, until the Republicans realized it could actually pass. In fear of another dog-caught-the-car moment like the repeal of Roe v. Wade, where they finally got what they wanted, and it was both wildly unpopular, and removed one of their main campaign talking points, suddenly the right no longer wants to support the bill. Mitch McConnell specifically noted that Trump wants to run on immigration, and a bipartisan bill for immigration reform right before the election would be a win for Biden, since he's currently in office, and it'd remove the talking point for the right on the campaign trail. Therefore, they want to torpedo the bill specifically, to make sure Biden can't get credit for it, and so they can keep campaigning on immigration issues. Add to that the conflicts in Texas with state level vs federal level border patrol. Gov Abbott throwing up razor wire at the border and in the water to stop immigrants, and attempting to stop federal border patrol from doing their jobs of handling the border and processing immigrants. The right is attempting to drum up noise on border and immigration before the election. Side note, Supreme Court ruled that federal employees can cut through the razor wire, nothing more nothing less. So Texas can keep throwing it up. Feds can cut through when they need to, and they are. No one's actually defying law yet, but feds are pushing for a ruling that'll get Abbott to stand down and let the federal government do their job at the border. Too long, didn't read, it's politics. The right doesn't want to hand a win to those currently in power, Biden, or take a major campaign issue and talking point out of the mouths of Republicans running in 2024. Having a boogeyman to point the finger at and be angry was more important than fixing the problem. Coleridge says, and the upshot is, the GOP has been yelling for years that the border is the single most important issue, posing an existential threat to the US, and numerous GOP Congress members have said this is the best deal they're ever going to get, and it had bipartisan support. But now suddenly the border isn't actually important enough that they can't put off trying to solve it for another year or so. The next time a Republican says anything about the importance of the border to you, point out this to them, that their GOP leaders do not care about solving the problem, they just want it as a thing to get people riled up about. r/OutOfTheLoop. Darth Joy Boyce says, what is going on with the Muslims in India? I have come across this Al Jazeera article that talks about how the tensions are rising with mosques and schools getting demolished, and how Muslims are getting oppressed more and more in India. But as most people know, Al Jazeera is biased, so I wanted to know more about the situation, and how severe it is, and who is in the right. Amishavan says, answer, I don't think anyone is ever in the right with situations like these. There's long been conflict between Hindus and Muslims in the area. The Mughals, Muslims, conquered much of India and ruled for hundreds of years. The Taj Mahal is a Mughal structure. The partition of India after we divided it into India, mainly for Hindus, and Pakistan, mainly for Muslims. The two countries do not get along at all. The current Prime Minister of India is wildly popular and many have called him a Hindu nationalist. Obviously some of his actions could be perceived as catering to Hindus and oppressing Muslims. Annex Storm Ridder says, minor correction, India was never created to be mostly for Hindus. Pakistan was created solely for Muslims. And India was created to be for whoever that did not want to go to or stay in Pakistan, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs and any other religion. Beginning Army 248 says, so is Pakistan a religious nationalist country? Shinny Head 0 says, answer, Hindu nationalism. Punk Gibson 11 says, answer, there was an illegally constructed madrasa, Islamic school, in a town called Haldwani located in Uttarakhand state of India and the government decided to demolish it. This led to mass attack by the Muslims on the police and there was massive stone pelting on police including female officers, and planned arson of Hindu properties and police station. Another motive could be recent law called Uniform Civil Code passed by the state government which treats all religions the same. This would remove Muslim personal laws like polygamy and male inheritance. r/OutOfTheLoop. How do I edit my username says, what's going on with seemingly half the top posts on all being removed by moderators when clicking into the post? It seems like over the past few days, there is a 50/50 chance that a post that hits the front page has been removed and or locked by the moderators. It seems clear there was a recent change in overall moderation strategy as this is happening across multiple subreddits, but I don't know why. For example, here, does anyone know? Last B3023 says, answer, a lot of traffic in the top 200 of /r/all is inauthentic. You can see this when the submission is a screenshot of a headline with no source given. Or on a tweet. If the date is not outright cropped, the submission will likely be a repost. Same goes for videos which also are cut for maximum outrage. The titles of the submission very likely also are completely unrelated to the actual situation depicted. These are the strategies employed by bot/karma farming accounts. As you can see, the submissions are not good to begin with. Now if the same submissions get posted and reposted over and over again, moderators will remove them without any explanation, because it already is tedious enough as is. There are subs which do not mid the reposts and thrive on the outrage generated. But a lot of subs do not. The submission you linked falls under the same category. The title does not give context for the screenshot, but is maximized for outrage. There is no year given. It is completely unsourced. That already is inauthentic. The account had only 3 instances of activity on the site and all 3 are submissions. That also does not increase confidence that it is authentic traffic. There are dozens of posts like this that rise to /r/all because they are falsified with the intent to generate outrage, and as long as people get angry at GIFs with no date and a nondescript title, there will be incentive to submit stuff like this over and over again. And mods will have to delete over and over. Goatfrick, Supreme says. Answer, lots of bots getting upvoted to hell. The op of the linked post is a 9-month-old account that only started posting 9 hours ago, as of writing. It's a bot. Mods see this after it blows up, and then it gets removed. r/OutOfTheLoop. TheLastLib says. What's up with Microsoft and Xbox today? Over the past day, people have said that Xbox is going third party. This tweet by Phil Spencer has people fully convinced that it will happen. Is Xbox actually exiting the console market? Bongo 1138 says. Answer, months ago, Microsoft CFO mentioned that he believed Xbox games would end up on PlayStation. Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft Gaming, denied that. Then Microsoft's CEO has also previously said that they don't like exclusivity and only do so because their competition does. A couple weeks ago it was rumored that 2 major Xbox first-party games, Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush, would be coming to other platforms. This rumor seems to be accurate, as PlayStation controls were added to the PC version of Hi-Fi Rush. Today and yesterday, Gaming Insider started reporting that they'd heard numerous Xbox first-party games would be going multi-platform, including Halo, Gears, and Starfield. It's also worth noting, one of these insiders stated they didn't believe Xbox was done with console hardware. Then, within the last few hours, Spencer addressed these rumors by saying they'd have more to say next week. At this point, we don't really know what's going to happen, but all signs point to Xbox releasing games on other consoles. I'm just some frick, Inguy says. At a first glance this seems absolutely insane, but if we look at the history of consoles, companies usually took a loss on the actual hardware in order to sell games. This had a lot to do with the fact that the hardware was vastly different between companies and software had to be built custom for each console. Now that all these consoles are pretty much PCs, even Linux is running tons of games due to a number of factors. They no longer are tied to specific console and those huge expenses to port games. I expect the next generation of hardware to be much more expensive and the hardware deals will be tied to subscriptions and probably increased advertising. The idea of console sales as a measure of success is dying with these subscription services and COD gaming. I think Microsoft being able to leverage cheap PCs for a lot of games puts them at a real advantage over Sony here. Cockabunda says. PlayStation controls were added to the PC version of Hi-Fi Rush. Wait, so this is where everything started? Why is that a big deal? Seems weird to leave that out of a PC game in the first place. If a game doesn't already have it, someone's made a mod for PS controls anyway. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.